the Emergency Measures Organization, the EMO, executive to assess the potential impact of Hurricane Ernesto, which is currently tracking through the Atlantic near the Leeward Islands. Although this meeting was an initial step in our response, it was critical as it allowed us to gather the latest information and begin coordinating our preparations for this hurricane. Let me be clear. While Bermuda has been fortunate in recent years to avoid the worst impacts of hurricanes, we have to take each storm seriously and prepare accordingly. As I've said before, it only takes one storm to cause significant damage and disrupt our way of life. Ernesto is expected to be a hurricane by the time it makes its closest approach to our island this weekend. The center of the storm is predicted to pass very near Bermuda, bringing hurricane-force winds, dangerous seas, and a high likelihood of the loss of electricity across the island. We want to ensure that every resident is fully aware of the potential impacts. The rain that began yesterday is forecast to continue into the weekend, which could result in low-level flooding in some areas across the island. By Friday evening, we anticipate that strong gale-force winds will begin to affect Bermuda, progressively increasing in intensity as Ernesto approaches. These winds are expected to escalate from storm to hurricane force by Saturday. I cannot stress enough how important it is for every resident to use this time to prepare. We have seen in the past the devastating effects of complacency, where a lack of preparation has resulted in avoidable tragedies. Do not be lulled into thinking that you can wait until the last minute. The window to prepare is closing rapidly, and any delay could put you, your loved ones, and your property at serious risk. This is not the time to underestimate the power of nature. Time is of the essence. Preparations must be completed as soon as possible. Here are some key actions that we all should be taking. Secure your property. Ensure that outdoor furniture and other movable items are safely stored away to prevent them from becoming dangerous projectiles. Boat owners, please secure your vessels properly and make sure your boat insurance is up to date. Home insurance. Double check that your home insurance policies are up to date and that premiums are current to avoid financial hardship and disappointment later. Stock up on essentials. This is so important. Have enough food, water, and medicine to last a few days. Ensure you have rope, portable power banks, spare batteries, flashlights, and other hurricane supplies. Check on your neighbors. This is especially important for our elderly and vulnerable residents. We must make sure everyone is prepared and safe. I shall be reconvening the EMO executive tomorrow for our next meeting, during which time we will receive updated information and subsequently make key decisions. These decisions will include the operation of the causeway, the airport, and public transportation services such as buses and ferries, as well as other government services. We will also discuss the emergency shelter at Cedar Bridge Academy. Following this meeting, we will promptly inform the public of these decisions. In the event of a power outage, the emergency radio station at 100.1 FM will be operational to provide timely updates and critical information. I urge everyone to tune in if needed. I also want to remind the public that while various weather sources are available online, the Bermuda Weather Service is the official source of weather information for the island. The EMO makes decisions based on information provided by the Bermuda Weather Service. Please stay informed by visiting www.weather.bm for the latest updates and forecasts. Additionally, the BWS has an account on Facebook, which also provides updates. I will now hand it over to Mrs. Michelle Pitcher, Director of the Bermuda Weather Service, who will provide you with the latest update on Hurricane Ernesto. Thank you. Mrs. Pitcher?
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, everyone. As of the 12 noon update, Ernesto has been upgraded from a tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane. It is expected to continue to intensify and briefly become a Category 3 hurricane or a major hurricane around Friday morning. However, it is expected to then decrease in intensity as it makes the final approach to our area and indeed passes Bermuda. I just want to echo some of the key forecast details that the minister has already provided for us. We are expected to have our tropical storm force winds arriving around Friday afternoon. And indeed tonight, with consultation from the National Hurricane Center, we will be issuing the appropriate tropical storm and hurricane watches and warnings associated with the timing of the arrival of the winds. But from Friday afternoon, we will be seeing our tropical storm force winds, and then it's expected to intensify to a Category 1 hurricane wind. So that's going to be 65 to maybe 70 knots sustained sometime around dawn on Saturday, give or take a few hours there. Again, it's a bit early for us to have the exact timing and the details, and that information will become much more solid and will increase our confidence in our forecast as time wears on. However, we do need to be prepared for the strongest winds starting early Saturday morning. Right now, it looks like Ernesto will be passing us around midday Saturday to our west, only about 50 nautical miles to the west, as a Category 2 hurricane. The latest forecast still maintains Category 1 force winds over the island. So the Category 2 winds are staying closer to the center of the hurricane and possibly outside of our area. However, each tropical cyclone is its own storm, so please stay up to date with the latest information from www.weather.bm, because while we want to hope for the best and maybe see an improvement in our forecast, we do need to be prepared for the worst in a higher intensity wind field. Also, please note, as already the minister has stated, we have a very wet lead up to the arrival of Hurricane Ernesto. We've already had several intense showers, isolated thunderstorms this week, and the semi-stationary front that has brought this to our area is going to remain through the rest of this week, and it won't be exiting the area until Ernesto pushes it away. The wet conditions add an extra element of precautions that everybody needs to take because it's going to be wet and slippery out there. Please stay safe as you're making your preparations. Also, with reference to the low-level flooding, it's going to be a lot of rain. We've been very dry recently with the Bermuda Azores high over the area, and now it looks like all of the rain is coming. And while nobody wants to catch up on the rain all at once, it's looking like we're going to be measuring several inches of rain by the time this event is over. So please be extra mindful of areas that tend to flood. That's all I have for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pitcher. Are there any questions?
Thank you, members of the media. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Director Pitcher. I'm going to turn it over for Q&A. We'll start with Owen from the Royal Gazette. Owen?
Yes, good afternoon. This is probably for Mrs. Pitcher. I'm questioning about what level of storm surge is expected as Ernesto comes to the island.
You heard that, Ms. Pitcher?
No, I'm sorry. Can't quite hear the question.
Can you say that again?
I was wondering about the level of storm surge we might experience as Ernesto approaches the island.
We're expecting up to 2 feet of storm surge right now. So we are going to start seeing rough seas and swells start to affect our mainly south shores starting early on Thursday. However, right now for storm surge, it's looking around 2 feet.
Thank you very much, Owen. I will turn it over to Jasmine. Jasmine, did you have any queries for the minister or for Director Pitcher?
Thank you. Minister, you mentioned that you intend to have meetings leading up to Friday, but what advice do you give for people at this stage in terms of getting off the roads leading up to Ernesto?
Well, I don't want to give anyone any premature advice at this time. What I can say is just get prepared, because it's better to be prepared and to need and not be prepared. We are having a reconvening of the EMO tomorrow at 1 p.m. So we'll be more definitive as to what next steps we have to take as a country.
And for Ms. Pitcher, you mentioned it's due to approach or due to pass us about 50 nautical miles. Would that be considered a direct hit?
Ms. Pitcher?
Oh, we didn't.
Ms.
Again,
Pitcher?
I'm sorry, I can't
Okay.
quite hear the question.
I'll try to ask it for you. The question is coming from Ms. Jasmine Patterson, and she's asking that when the hurricane comes within 50 nautical miles, would that be considered a direct hit?
Yes. However, it won't be considered landfall because it will not be touching part of the island.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, members of the media. Minister, do you have any closing remarks for the public as we close out this media briefing?
Yes, at always, I would like to let the public know that we've had some near misses, as I've said in the past, but it's always better to be prepared and not needed than to hope, than to wish that you were prepared. So check on your elderly, check on the vulnerable. Make sure that all those loose furniture that may be in your yard is cleared away and secured. So those kind of things we should be doing anyway, you know. So stay safe, Bermuda, and we will give an update tomorrow at 1 p.m. after 1 p.m.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes today's press briefing.